That is an tissue.
No milk deep?
Exactly. Both the tissues. It's not. Exactly. It's not like how it's not like
Look at this cover here today. Wow. What's up, Sam?
How are you?
Time destruction.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Getting
I'm
back
sorry.
into the swing of things.
I totally get that. Yes.
They
3 months
started-
Leah.
Not easy for me, but I
No,
did.
not easy for us either. You get it. In our way. We're just happy that we got here.
Oh, man. I'm good with that. Me too.
There's a comment, there wasn't a question.
I didn't realize we changed the
That's it.
actual words. It always used to be with the shadows.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's not it.
Well, now we have a venue, or, we set up, so we
Right,
have
right.
flexibility.
Class.
Uh-oh.
I can't miss it.
No, you can't. That's it. You have a longer street. You can't pick it up. More than right?
That's right.
That's amazing to me. You ate up so many different views.
Oh, yeah.
This is my 26th year.
Yes.
It's going to be 20 years and have a connection. Who's in charge of the milk this year?
Yeah, Tony, talk to Mr. Parker. He has,
That's why we don't have anybody in charge of nothing.
he filed an oral complaint about it too. I filed the first complaint. He filed the second, now you're the third.
It was yesterday also.
I know. I am telling you, I filed the first complaint.
Somehow something else they're missing.
Probably right.
We get double started because we're sitting here without milk.
You probably do the same thing, bro.
Okay.
First, I want to begin by thanking the Parnas Hayom, our dear friend in Miami, Mauricio Glock is sponsoring Leilu Nishmas David Yaakov Ben Arya Mordechai. His yard side is today in the Shomashaf and Aliyah. Only Simcha Nachas and Broda.
Amen.
Okay. We're beginning the Maimer on page Tzadik Ches. We're just at the end of the earlier Maimer in Ayeka. We're learning a Torah from Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Chalab Zechat Tzaddik V'Kosh Levrocha about, connected to what we learned in the Maimer, of course, about the Chet of Gan Eden. The Chet of Gan Eden, man's longing to connect to something which is infinite, which is a noble thing to do and to want. Adrab is the tachlis of our lives, is to connect to the infinite one, to be makushit to Ein Sof Baruch Hu. That's the whole tachlis of our lives. The problem, however, is when a person's search for Ein Sof is in things that have a Sof. When the search for the infinite is in the finite world. So when a person is looking for immeasurable pleasure in eating and indulging in other things of this world, and Rabbi Yaakov Moshe was writing about the poets writing beautiful poems about the trees, the flowers, about love, all the things that are part of this world. There was that tremendous drive that's natural to want something, to experience something that's Ein Sof, and the unbelievable pain and disappointment that comes with the realization that you can't find Ein Sof in the world that is Sof. There is no Ein Sof in this world. Only Hashem is infinite. This world is finite. So whatever it is that the person is looking for in kinyonim, by acquiring things of this world, even if they're nice things, when it comes to family and good things, whatever it is, but the person will never find that shalvas hanefesh, that inner peace and tranquility, that simchas achayim, when you're looking for godless in a place of katnas. When you're looking for godless, Godel Hashem u'mahul ma'oid, only Hashem is absolute godless, and only by connecting to Hashem can you find that simcha, that unbelievable chavaya of being in something and part of something that's Ein Sof. But the Chet of Gan Eden was Adam and Chava trying to find something infinite in the finite world that the snake offered, v'yisam kelokim, that you could be like God, without transcending this world, without connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore we saw that the kinor of David HaMelech, the song of David HaMelech, had 8 strings. This is what we were talking about before Yom Tov, 8 strings. Because of course 8 means something which is beyond this world. And therefore all of the music and all the poetry in this world, it can be very, very sweet, it can be very, very beautiful, but ultimately it's limited. There's that shibud that we're learning about in Ayaka, where man is trying to find chofesh. There's that chipus, that search for chofesh, for freedom, for being unfettered, for being unlimited, for being able to be kelokim. That's what Adam wanted, to be kelokim, unrestrained and unfettered by this world, by anything. The problem is when you try to find that in the world, whether it's with money or it's with getting high on some drug, whatever it is, you're trying to find it in this world, so then you're going to crash. It just can't work. And that's the Chet of Adam and Chava in Gan Eden. The keynote of David HaMelech was 8 strings, because that's a song of Shir L'Hashem Shir Chodesh. 8 means something which is higher than this world. It means the song of David HaMelech was the song for something which is Be'emes Ein Sof. And the number 8 is, of course, the number of Chayros, of freedom, which is the Yovel. 7 times 7, 49, and 50 is Yovel 8, and that's where a person can find that Chayros. So the sad thing is that due to the fact that the person is going to be disappointed by never ever being able to find that infinite experience in a finite world, so that leads to anger and disappointment, and it's horrible in shalom bayis and yonim and all matters of finances and so on. It causes a terrible, terrible shvira, tzibachenkeit in the world. And one cannot find true simcha. As we learned, Shalom Melech says, "V'hanefesh lo samalei." The soul cannot be filled by this world. It's that simple. And the mashal that Chazal gave, which is very famous, we spoke about it dozens of times, where the princess marries a city guy, and he tries to bring her all kinds of nice things. He's a good guy. He tries to bring all kinds, so the guy from the city comes up with season's tickets to the Metropolitan Opera or something, and she's a big opera fan, but that she comes from the palace. She comes from the palace. So her inyan is an inyan that is something which is Derech Mashal, which is Ein Sof. And she has this nice guy from the city, and everything he brings her is finite. It's nice, it's pretty, it's expensive, it's good, but it's not the palace. It's not where I come from. It's not the experience that I had. Our neshamas had an experience before we came into this world, and it's looking for that experience. That's Rabbi Nachman's famous story about the Hungarian wine, which I'm sure you remember, about the guy that once tasted the Hungarian wine was famous for being the best wine in the world, and about the guy that it's all nice, but the guy that the story, the guy that tasted the Hungarian wine the rest of his life, he's looking for this wine. No matter what wine they bring him, he says it's not bad, but it's not the Hungarian wine. And the variation of that in the Chabad form is the song, which goes about the Baal Shem Tov. Somebody heard this magnificent song, and everywhere he goes, he gets together the klezmer guys, the bands, to play your best music. And he says it's nice, and he gives them a couple of rubles, but it's not the niggin. It's not the niggin. So our neshama knows what the niggin is. Our neshama knows the niggin, and then any imitation of the niggin just doesn't cut it. Doesn't work. It can bring you some temporary relief from the misery of this world. Get the imaginary simcha, the big vacation or the big house, all that stuff, without going into the shalom of what this world is about. Everybody knows that it doesn't answer the need, the ultimate need that the soul has for that chayvus of being connected to the one who's infinite, and that's the only way to find it. So that's what we're learning about. Man's search for chofesh, which is the same letters. That's what I mentioned before. Chipus is searching, and chofesh is freedom. Which then looking for the chametz before Pesach, right? That's the whole thing, to get rid of the chametz. Pesach is freedom. The chipus, the search, the bedikas chametz, is to get rid of that obsession with this world. Chametz means all the things in your life that have spoiled, because they're sitting with you for too long, and you think that you're going to find. You think that in this world that piece of bread is going to give you the ultimate satisfaction. So by Pesach we burn the chametz. We search for the chametz and we burn the chametz to clean ourselves out, to be able to understand that if you want to be Pesachik, if you want to experience chayrus, you can't hold on to the chametz in the same hand, and in the one hand, and have chayrus in the other hand. You have to get rid of the chametz. You can't have chametz and chayrus. They don't go together. Chametz means anything in this world that you got too connected to. That means you got chametzdik. So you can't have chametz and chayrus. They don't go together. When you get rid of the chametz, you burn the chametz, you're able to be free. That's Pesach. Then you can have the chayrus of Pesach. So page Sadik Ches. Imkain, Hashi'ifa la'Ein Sof, that longing for Ein Sof, for the infinite. That is the yesod, that is the basis of that rotzen that a human being has for chofesh, for freedom. We move on to hachofesh unitzayitz kodesh. In that respect, with this understanding, as I said a minute ago, searching for that which is infinite, wanting the infinite, is chofesh is nitzatz kodesh, comes from the holy spark, comes from the deepest part of who we are, comes to the nefesh elokis. Shemushash the makar elyon ma'od. It's mushros, the shorish of this need for a person to have chofesh, to be free. It comes from makar elyon ma'od. Elyon ma'od. If you wanted to read something, I'm reading something in English that made a tremendous roshim on me, and I'm sure many of you have read this book over the years. It was written already in the 80s, I think. But if you read Sharansky's book, Fear No Evil, there's a tam of what it means, a taste of freedom, what freedom is. But the big kasha was on this person with all that he was going through. How is it possible for you to experience freedom? And the whole book is basically a description of a person in the most horrible physical circumstances finding freedom through connecting to the Ein Sof within himself. And he was a person that didn't grow up learning any Torah, as you know, that he had no background at all. It's a remarkable thing. And in this month's commentary, I don't know if you know what that is. There's a magazine Pfeiffer. In this month's commentary, there's an article. There's another book written in collaboration with this journalist about together with Sharansky. Many years later, Sharansky's now, Baruch Hashem, is 76 years old. And he is also interviewing and talking about this inyan of what Chayrus is. It comes from a makar elyon ma'od, from a very, very, very exalted place. There was a famous thing that happened with Sharansky. I remember watching this on television. That it was a very exciting thing. And some of you remember when he was free. I don't know, it was 80, 86. I don't know. It was very exciting. And I mean, we were davening for so many years and what was going on with him. And he was brought. So he was the plane let him off in East Berlin. He was going to cross over to West Berlin to freedom. And the true story that happened, it was clarified, but when exactly this happened. But what the Russians, the KGB, they took him out of the car, and they took him out of the car, which is the end of his imprisonment, and they told him to walk straight. To walk straight to the Americans who were waiting for him. To walk straight. Don't play any games. And Sharansky did a dance like a zigzag, like Zygazon. It was gewaltig. I remember Reagan gave a whole speech about that, about the godless of a person, of what it means to be, what it means freedom. He was never imprisoned. That's what made them crazy. And even when they offered him to be free, they offered to let him go as a humanitarian gesture because of his health. So they offered him the Russians said, as a humanitarian gesture, we'll let you off 2 years before the completion of the sentence. They'll let him off. And he refused. He said, because you're not humanitarian and I'm not accepting that. You're not humans. I'm not accepting that. So I said, would I say such a thing? Another 2 years he got. And this fellow's talking to him about that, like, do you regret that? Looking back, do you regret that you could have gotten 2 years? That you could have gotten 2 years, you could have gotten out 2 years earlier. And the answer, the godless, is unbelievable. But what freedom is, it's a very exalted thing. But it's only when it's not determined by your physical circumstances. The guy was a prisoner in the Gulag. It was horrible. He was tortured. It was crazy stuff. But he that's the whole book on fear. No, he was free. Because that comes from someplace that's higher than this world. That's what he says. It's mushrosh b'makar elyon ma'od. It's mushrosh b'makar elyon ma'od. It's the shurish, the root of chayrus is makar elyon ma'od. Yesh bo b'chinas es neitzitzus me'ha'ein sof Baruch Hu. Because only Hashem is absolutely free. And to the extent that a person is able to experience the taste of that freedom of dveikus b'Hashem, that's a hisneitzus, that's a spark of the Ein Sof himself. Shu chavshi mikol gvul omeid. So only Hashem is completely free of all boundaries, all gvulim and all meitzorim, all restrictions and so on. V'chayv shem memali kol amen. That chofesh of Hashem fills all the worlds. Ha'adam nivra b'tzelem Elokim. So there's tremendous range of opinions of what exactly is the Tzelem Elokim. All different opinions. The Rambam, Reb Sadiq, and the Ramban, Sforno, Rav Dessler, the Chassidim. They're all different ways of teaching Tzelem, the image of God. They're different mefashim. What that means, Tzelem Elokim. The man's created in God's image. Ha'adam nivra b'tzelem Elokim. Mvur b'svar. Shedov ezeh hu soid ha'bechira ha'chavshis sheyesh la'adam. It's really Reb Sadiq and in the Svarim that free choice, man's ability to choose, is that greatest expression of him being created in the image of Hashem. Freedom of choice, to have the freedom to make a decision, to be free to choose. Kfi she'yisbar b'hamshach. B'china shel ha'chofesh Eloki shui b'sarch nishma sein. This chofesh Eloki, this quality of Ein Sof, we're allowed to speak of as Hashem's Baruch. No one tells Hashem what to do. He's absolutely free. That's shui b'sarch nishma sein. There is that's something that a spark of that is contained within each and every one of us. That's why man is driven to do what he wants. But what he wants, and he thinks that he's going to find freedom if he's able to do what he wants. If no one tells him what to do, then he's going to be free. So there are millions and millions of Americans that are going to vote this coming week, and everybody should vote. Of course, I have to tell you that there are going to be millions of Americans that are going to vote because they're going to vote a certain way, because they think that if they vote for that person, that's going to give them the freedom to do what they want. It's going to give them the freedom to do what they want. So if they want to kill a little baby, so that will give them the freedom to kill a fetus. Because I want, and all this screaming and yelling about those people is that the one who's running against her is the opposite of freedom, which is another way of saying the opposite of what? Of what I want. Of what I want. And in many cases, that's true. It's the opposite of what you want. You want to see the Jews destroyed, and he doesn't. That's true. It's very, very bad for you. You would like to see Hamas and Hezbollah. You would like to see them free, not the hostages. That's baloney. Everyone begins their speech by saying free the hostages. They would like to see Hezbollah and Hamas, Yimach Shalom. They would like to see them to have the freedom to go anywhere they want. To Tel Aviv and to Haifa. That's what they would want. So vote for the candidate that will allow you to have the greatest freedom possible. It's just another way of saying to let you do what you want. Period. That's the whole story. Why should I vote for somebody who's telling me that I can't do what I want? It's crazy. I vote for somebody who tells me that I can do whatever I want. That's what you imagine. So if a boy wants to become a girl or a girl wants to become a boy, this one says that mutalach, mutalach, mutalach. The other one says it's not a good thing. So why should I vote for the one who says it's not a good thing? I'll vote for the one who's mekel, not for the one who's machmir. All of us voted for a rebbeim who are mekel, not for a rebbeim who are machmir. Who voted for a rebbe that was machmir? If I get up here and start dashing all kinds of chumas, he'd all walk out on me. We're friends because it seems like I'm a fair person, at least in some respect. You don't really know how big a kanai I am inside of myself. But I try to hold it back from you. So why should I vote for somebody who's a machmir? Like I have a mekel, I go with the kula and have the koch de hatera adif. It's a klal and shas. It's much better to have a kula because that's freedom. The rabbi who says what I want, that's a good rabbi. The rabbi who tells me I can do this because I want to do this. If that rabbi says I could sit with my kala in the shul, that's a good rabbi. That's who I vote for. So that rabbi is going to run against the rabbi who's trying to build a 6-foot mechitza, 12-foot mechitza. No, it's not. I vote for the rabbi who lets me sit with my kala, or at least if I can't, at least I can see because it's a low mechitza, I can see. So to be free. That's what freedom could be, the lowest thing. And freedom itself, though, it comes from the highest, most exalted place. The neshamas come from the highest, from the highest place. She'ein soifel gvul l'ramamusa. Neshama ain't soif l'ramamusa. There's no end to the greatness, to the exaltedness of the soul. The malachim are jealous of the neshama v'jul. Vein smeos v'orgos the merchave ein sof, and therefore the neshamas are filled with a tremendous simaon, a thirst, and orgos, longing, the merchave ein sof, to the expansiveness, the endless expansiveness there. Bli gvul v'tzimtzum shel olam hazeh, without any of the gvulim, any of the tzimtzumim, the constrictions and restraints of this world. Zohar sherish hapnimi, that is the inner root. L'bakoshes hachofesh, for man's search, man's longing for chofesh, for freedom, which itself again is a very noble thing. That is deep, deep within the soul. Simon pnimi zeh shori amok b'soch levavos b'nei adam. It's deep in the hearts of human beings to make their own choices, to do what they want. And that's why the most natural thing, the most normal thing, is for a person to love this and to want this freedom. Lios ben chor. Mimal kol gvul v'tzimtzum. Higher than any gvul, any tzimtzum, any gvul and tzimtzum. Hamimush hamiti shel hachofesh hu b'his'alus el ha'in sof. Man's ability to actualize and to actually experience this true chofesh, that's only if he ascends to a place that's ein sof. That's only if he's not meshubah to this world. The Tzaddikim said about Reb Shlomo Kalina that if you looked underneath, you would see that he was always 3 tvachim higher than the ground. They said such a thing about Reb Shlomo Kalina. Now, what does it mean? I'm sure regular people didn't see that; they just saw him on the floor. But the Balatanya, the Tzaddikim saw when they looked at Reb Shlomo Kalina's feet; they were above the ground. That's how he lived. They saw such a thing. So that inyan of Reb Shlomo Kalina was such that the Tzaddikim actually saw that he wasn't bound to the earth. He was higher than the ground. We called tzimtzum, mitziyim called tzimtzum. When a person is able to get out of any tzimtzum, they're talking about people that they can, if you pay a lot of money, that you can go onto a rocket that'll take you to outer space. That's what one of my kids was telling me, that they're rich people, that they're spending, I don't know how much money, a lot of money, to go to go for a trip and to see what's going on over here, to look at the earth or something. What is that? I mean, I would go if it was it was $18 or something, and if it was and wouldn't get my mother upset, I guess. I would do that. It's interesting. I'm not saying it's not an interesting thing, but they're charging a lot more than that, and there's this. Ad kedei kach that a person is not even meshubah to the world, and he thinks that by going in a rocket and going far away, you're no longer meshubah to the world. The fact that he spent $1 million to pay for that means this is the biggest shibud, and the guys that are cashing the check are laughing at him. But they got this guy to go on some trip for $1 million, which is what they're going to be charging for flight to Israel soon. To get out of all the tzimtzumim. How do you get out of all the tzimtzumim? When the or of your neshama penetrates into your life. Then you could taste that's something Ein Sof. And when you use your koiches, meaning the koiches of your neshama, with Torah and with mitzvahs and with davening, when your neshama is being allowed to express itself in your life, then you could experience Ein Sof. You can get a taste of Ein Sof. Of course, the greatest gvul the greatest symptom in a person's life is the guf. Is the guf. There was a somewhere I read that a philosopher spoke about all great movements of liberation began with a group of people who were no longer afraid. He just said that word. Were no longer afraid of what was going to happen to them. That's how all great things, great movements, great revolutions began with a group of people who said, we're not afraid of this. In other words, the guf is not going to be mishabed us. There's something higher. And the guf is not going to be mishabed us. Therefore, the more a person allows that light of his neshama to enter into his life, so he ascends higher and higher. He can experience true oisha and true simcha, true happiness that doesn't depend upon the circumstances of his life. That's what I was talking about. Sharansky doesn't depend upon him. Remember, he described a situation where he was being frozen to death and he was standing there naked. They took away everything from him. He was standing there naked in his cell. And he had a gewaldige simcha sachai. It's an unbelievable simcha. Because he felt absolutely free. Even though he was in a cell. And he was freezing. They took away from his clothing, his dignity. Yeah.
It's possible that in that moment when everything is stripped away, that actually forces somehow that.
It can, that's true. That's the need of just a fasting. When we have a tanis, the point of a tanis, now Hashem doesn't want us to stop to be hungry. He wants us to be able to strip away at that layer of neediness, of physical neediness. So when you spend the whole day thinking about what you're going to eat afterwards, that wasn't what Hashem had in mind. It's to be able to come into contact, 100%. And therefore, would Sharansky have reached this great musag of Cheres had he just been another Russian guy that was hanging around in Moscow? And had he not been put to prison? Could very well be not. And that contributed to his greatness. And as I've said so many times over the years, I saw this with the survivors from the war also, those who stayed connected and those who continued and built after the war. That greatness they might not have ever tasted, their own personal strength, their own personal greatness, unless you go through things that challenge the guf. And you make a decision at some point that I'm not going to allow the guf to determine who I am. The guf is not koveya, my mitzias. Sometimes the only way you can come to that is if everything that you have in the guf is taken from you. That's a scary thing. Sometimes that's the way it goes. Unless everything in your guf is taken away, even chas v'chalila, your health, a person doesn't hear the sound of the neshama because it's so. The sound of the neshama is being suffocated is being drowned out by the sound of the guf. So when the volume of the guf is lowered, then sometimes that can enable a person to hear the neshama. That's a very big yisod in the Svar. But of course, the best way to do that is in a voluntary way. In a voluntary way. That's why dieting is a very chashuv thing. The concept of a diet is a very chashuv thing. But it depends what your mindset is when you're dieting. If your mindset is, because I have this conversation with many people, if you're dieting, if the mindset is every day to look in the mirror and say, you're looking better, you're just going to end up, after you get to a certain point, you're going to end up pressing again until the mirror can't even hold you. But if your mindset is, I need to have control over my life, it's a loyafeh. The way that I've been eating is not right. I'm just indulging, and it's not good. It's not healthy, and worst of all, it makes me feel like a weak person. I'm not in control. And if your tachlis in dieting is to be a person that eats a certain time at a certain amount, not starvation, but has with discipline and control, that's a ruchnistic. Dieting is a very ruchnistic avodah. It's a very, very spiritual thing. And you're able to be free from that ice cream, from that 7-layer cake that has always pulled you in again and again and again. And then you always, when you do that, you feel like, what's the matter with me? I'm meshubed to some flour and some oil and some margarine. I'm meshubed to this. It's the worst feeling. So dieting itself, in a normal, healthy way, of course, then it's a nitzachin of the neshama, of the guf. If you're dieting in the wrong way just because you want to, like the way they always advertise, the summer's coming up, you want to look good in your bathing suit. That's just the biggest shibud. Then it's a shibud to what people think of how you're going to look in a bathing suit. Is there any dumber shibud in the world than that? That's why you're not eating the layer cake. So you could what? So you could then go to the beach, and then your friends are going to say, "Hey, look at you." That's the biggest shibud in the cake. You should just stay home and fresh. You're not going to get a sunburn, and you're not going to be in a place that's tumah. Sit at your kitchen table. There's a nice mezuzah, and you have some on the table. It's Friday night. It's getting long, and finish off the whole cake. Again, you don't have to go for biggest shibudim. You have to go. What people think of you and how they look at you, and to get a compliment from someone, it's a bigger shibud than a piece of cake. Everybody knows that the slavery to compliments and other people, we can talk about it in a few minutes, and the way other people think of you and how they look at you is much bigger than slavery to some Zionists. It's a bigger slavery. It's a much stronger slavery. Not to care what people think. To be free from people's opinions. Not to care what people think. Just to do the right thing. Not to care. It's a very, very big madrega. It's a tremendous madrega of chayros. What people think of you and how they look at you. It's a tremendous shibud. It's a much harder diet than stopping the fressing. It's a much bigger diet to stop fressing on compliments and people's opinions and what they think of you. And everywhere you go, you're taking a poll of who likes you and who doesn't like you, who's behind you and who's your friend, who's not your friend. And not to be meshubed to anything. To do just what's right in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's eyes and finish. That's chayros. It's a very hard thing. So then the person can be mismali oishe b'simcha. And you're able to experience true simcha. Kedushas nishmasa, nimalasa, bracha. The kedusha of your neshama begins to fill your life with bracha. Hamis adsemes bo strengthens you, gives you confidence and strength, and becomes stronger and stronger. Mishifas Ein Sof, because it's coming from the Ein Sof. It's from the infinite. So it strengthens you. And when the person's a hero, to be a heroic person, means to go higher than those shibudim. For Oil Chayves Hanahar, and then you come to, that's an Indian Kabbalah, but he's just alluding to, but then you're able to come to an expansiveness. The Mechave Kodesh, the great expanses of Kedusha, Gedolim Sheyesh Behem Chayfesh Shel Emes. And you're able then to have Chayfesh Shel Emes. Chayfesh Shel Emes. Zeu HaChayfesh HaAmiti. That is true Chayfesh. That is true Chayfesh. She'odam Chai is Chai in Nishmasa. When a person lives the life of his neshama, that his neshama wants, even though by doing that, to the outside it seems like you have all these different prisons. The prison of Shabbos, Chalila. The prison of davening Shachos Mincha, the prison of making brachas. The prison that you can't go and look there and go there. So to the outside observer, it looks like you are mamish imprisoned. But the emes is Sha'adam Chai is Chai in Nishmasa. Chofesh Amiti is when the person is Chai in Nishmasa. Chai in Nishmasa. Ve'ena mugbal b'gvulas haguf. When you're not mugbal, you're not contained and held back by the gvulas haguf. Luma zois, on the other hand, a person who immerses himself in the gvulos and the boundaries and limitations of the guf, and all of its taivas, and all of its desires, machlish es ha'aras chayev. By doing that, he is weakening the light of his life. It's not just that, even if it's something which is mutter. Even if it's something which is mutter, that's the present day Orthodox culture that comes with these lavish kiddushim and crazy, meat boards and liquor and all this stuff. And so everything is kosher, but the whole thing is so totally off. I think I'm preaching to the converted. It's so completely and totally off. Everything is kosher, and that chaver, they should all be healthy and well. They should all have brachas in their lives, and should be able to afford all good things. Right. But that culture that has developed, and you look at the advertisements in the Frum magazines. Even I've spoken about this before. That even the Shtreimel and the Bekish has become some sort of a sign of success, of wealth. The tall, the Shtreimel, your Shtreimel hits the ceiling, and your Bekish, is like you look a model from Italy. And the way they advertise things of kedusha. They say these things, to have the advertisement. So last week in one of the magazines they were advertising some new kosher wine. So new kosher wine's coming out every week. Well, it must be there are people drinking all this wine. So I'm not just for Kiddush and Avdal, you understand. So the advertisement was, get a taste of Italy. I want to have a taste of Italy? That's what I think of Italy. A taste of Italy? That's what I want to have at my Shabbos table, a taste of Italy. Because if you would say you want to have a taste of Tzfas, they already a lot of wines, Galil, I don't know the names of them. I don't drink wine. But the taste of the Galil, but if you have a taste of Italy, why would you want to have a taste of Italy? It's the place where the Vatican is. I don't have a taste of Italy. I want to get that taste out of my mouth. We've been trying for 2,000 years to get that taste out of our mouth. A taste of Italy. And from people are making these advertisements. And when they advertise, to get somebody to buy this expensive apartment in Yerushalayim, in some building that if you reach out the window, you knock into the other guy's window. They're trying to get you to buy this thing for $2.5, $3 million, and they show that like successful people, and they, and you could be like one of these, gevirim, that it's all a culture of indulgence. They even call the dessert indulgence. You can go to a kosher restaurant, they'll have, the dessert will be called chocolate indulgence. And they're using these words. And you see, since the Hasidim didn't really go much to school, they didn't have much English when they were in school. So there's so much misuse of English. And they don't hire like some non-Hasidic marketing chevra. You've all seen this kind of stuff, right? So they get some other Hasidim who are now in an office somewhere in Borough Park, Williamsburg, who call themselves like they're in the marketing business. They also don't know English. So you have the new Hasidic, the ones that want to start some business, they go to their friends, Yoeli and Yankel in the office, who also don't really know much English, but now he's called Abe and Joel, and they go into the office, and they say, Yoeli, mach for me agit. And Yoeli says, this is going to be it, And then they come up with these crazy ads. You know what I'm talking about? Yes. These insane ads, like it's embarrassing. Your ears turn red. What are you guys doing? We don't talk like that. This the answer to your desire. Like, stop talking like that. That's not G. That's not even PG. What are you talking like that? And to show a picture of a candy or something. They mean well, they're trying to make some money, but they have to go to someone that's outside of the neighborhood. But they want to give panasa to the guys. You understand? Everything should be with the guys. That's nice. They want to give panasa to the chaverim. But the chaverim don't know English. So they're coming up with these crazy ads, and the pictures and all the ads, and I'm sure if you look in this week's the magazines, it's crazy, but it's all the same yesod. It's this world, but with a beard and payas. And you think that if you put a beard and payas on this world, then all of a sudden everything becomes good, becomes kosher. See, this you could fresh on this world. The Piasetzner Schusi Lenu, this yahrzeit coming up, we're having the Hilula Mitzvah Shem Monday night. That the Piasetzner wrote in the Vayash Aram, true Chassidus, he said, you can't learn from a Sefer. There's no Sefer in the world from which you can learn true Chassidus. He says, we learn Chassidus by looking at the Chassidim, by watching the old Chassidim and talking to them. And I've known such people, and I've met such people in my life. That it's not about what it says in the Sefer, the Svar Mol Gavaldi. But when you meet a real emistic Chassidish Yid, what that is, that the Metzias of a real Chassidish Yid, it's a different, it's a Metzias that's higher than this world. And the same thing with you meet a real Baal Musa, an emistic Ish Musa. I mean a real Ish Musa. And I was zeichet to learn under such people. My Rebbe was such a person. I was zeichet to learn under such people. They were 4 tvachim above the world, mamish. I saw that by my Rebbe. They were higher than this world. And they lived in a place of oishev, a simcha mamish. That's how they lived. They lived in a place of oishev, a simcha. In the simplest apartments, with the simplest lives. But in such simcha, with such oishev. That's how they lived. Because mishum shtakeh begvulas haguf et havois of machlishes ha'aros chayav. If you're stuck in the gvulas of the guf of the body and its taivas, you're weakening the light of your life. And nasem mitzumtzum umudbal. You become mitzumtzum. You wanted to have chofesh. You're going to have. You think you're going to be the freest person by having the most expensive wedding in the whole community. And that's going to demonstrate you could do whatever you want. You could hire the biggest band, and you could have the most food, and you think that this is good. You have now reached a place in your financial that you're free to do. Because I love my kid. What wouldn't I do for my kid? And my kid's going to have a 12-piece band, and my kid's going to have the biggest smorgasbord, the biggest. And anybody who goes in there to give him a mazel tov is thinking back, and I remember the chasna that we had by COVID. That was Gavaldi. There were 30 people there that you really wanted to have there, and they were in the backyard having a chuppah. Those are the chasnas that you remember. And this one, you're just running in to see how fast I can get out without having to give a tip to some guy with the valet parking. The whole thing. To leave your wife in the car and then take turns going in. I'm sorry to say that I've done that. I'm embarrassed. There are times that I had to do that because I had 3 things going on in one night and I didn't know what to do. It's embarrassing. I've done that. My wife goes in, I'll stay in the car, and we switch, and I'm sitting there on the corner of Yoeli's office. You haven't done that? I've done that. I'm embarrassed because sometimes I can't do it. There's not enough time. That's how we're supposed to have a simcha with chaver. The whole thing is by those weddings that we had by COVID, everybody was relaxed. I remember that. Everybody was relaxed. They were beautiful. Everybody was enjoying the simcha. And maybe there was one person with a violin, maybe. Well, everybody was enjoying it. And everybody remembers those chasnas. So how's that possible? Because there, the neshama enjoyed it. The other ones, the guf might enjoy more because there's more food and there's whatever, but when you're someplace where the neshama enjoys, that you remember the experiences that you had where your neshama enjoyed something. Generally, you don't remember the experiences where our guf enjoyed something. Very often, we were just ashamed and embarrassed. But when your neshama enjoyed something, it's memorable. You just remember that. A beautiful Torah, a niggin that you heard, a hava, dvekis. Something that's something that with the neshama, with the aura of the neshama, where the aura of the neshama was experienced, you remember that. It's something that you remember, something that stays with you. It makes a roshim on you. When it comes to the guf, after you have the lake, you're sitting the next day reminiscing. Oh, that was such a lake. You're embarrassed that you gave in again. But when it was a gewaldige davening, the Hungarian wine. You're looking for that. You're looking for that niggin. That's what Jews are looking for. They're looking for the niggin. They're looking for the Hungarian wine. They're looking for the ore of the neshama. And that's something which is real and something which is authentic, and you know that it's true. And then anything that doesn't meet up with that is disappointing or embarrassing. It's machlish ha'oras chaya. It weakens the light of your life. What does a person want more than anything? Life. That's the strongest drive, is to be alive. But the irony of that is that even though being alive is the strongest human instinct and drive to be alive, but you study your whole life, not really experiencing what it means to be alive. And someone will tell you, if you want to feel what it means to be alive, go snowboarding in the Alps or something. Then you're going to feel what it means to be alive. Going down a mountain, risking your life going down a mountain, because the only way that you could feel alive is if you almost died. So the greatest need that a person has is life. And how many people actually? Those of you who are attached to Hashem Elokeichem, Chayim Kulchem Hayom. You are all alive. It's not talking about being physically alive or dead. The David said, "La omus ki echya." Why does he have to say, "La omus ki echya"? I won't die, I will live. It's enough to say, "La omus." He's saying, I don't want to just be physically alive. I don't want just lo omus, not to die. Ki echya. I want to be alive. That's what David is asking for. And how is that vasaper masekar? I don't want to spend a life of not being alive. La omus ki echya. And the only way that can happen is when you're connected to Chayim Baruch Hu, the life of all life, to the neshama, which is life. The guf is nothing. The guf is a piece of meat that's here for a couple of years in Gandhi. When you're connected to Chayim Baruch Hu, to the life of all life, then you're truly alive. See, some tourist, he comes to Yerushalayim. He's staying in the most expensive hotel. He's got the room service and the fanciest penthouse in the hotel, and he realizes he needs to daven Marv. He goes into a shtibel, and he sees some poor old Yerushalmi, and this guy's got Simcha Sechaim written over his face, and the person in the penthouse hasn't found it his entire life. And this old Yerushalmi that has some apartment, in the back alley there, can't even call it a dira. If you've ever gone to these places, somehow there are like 12 people living in that place, and this guy's got the Simcha Sechaim that you've never experienced with your penthouse, with all your avodim, all your shvachas coming to say, yes, Mr. So-and-so, here you are, Mr. So-and-so. Are you enjoying yourself, Mr. So-and-so? And this old Yerushalmi that's sitting next to you by Marav has experienced something and experiences something that you don't experience at all. At all. Very, very rarely. Of course, you think that the penthouse is going to enhance that experience of being alive. And then you go back down somewhere into the shtibel and you sit next to this yid who doesn't know what a penthouse is, never saw one in his life. And he's in a different place. Because he's connected. Atam adveikim Hashem Elokeichem. Chayim kulchem hayom. That's Chayim Baruch Hu. That's what it means to be alive. Doesn't mean you have to be poor. And doesn't mean it doesn't mean there's any problem in being in the penthouse and that. But if you think you're going to find that's where you're going to get chayrus from being in that place, that's where you're going to instead of the place where the old guy in the shtibel is looking for chayrus, that's where you're making the mistake. You could have the nice apartment, you could have a good life. There's nothing wrong with that. Jews only have good things, but that's not where you're going to get your chayrus from. The problem is that it's very hard to live like that, and to remember. To stay focused on what life is. It's very hard to live like that. Very, very hard. There are very few people that have that and that they're down to earth in a real way. And their priorities are what they're supposed to be. It's very, very hard to find people like that who are truly the emes happy. Because it's a big nisai. Don't blame any of them. It's a very, very big nisayon. It's very hard. You become small and constricted by these dark impulses that you have of neediness for things of this world, ranging from that beautiful house all the way down to the compliment that I was talking about. But you need something. You're a needy person. You're not free. And all advertising and all the things with the phones and it all plays upon this in you. The whole thing with the phone is that you could have everything you want immediately. That's what the phone is all about. You could have everything you want right immediately. Okay, I know that I can't actually go to the Swiss Alps because I can't afford it right now. But I could press a button and then I could be like ofen, like by the Swiss Alps. It's an unbelievable thing. The reason that the kids are going crazy, everyone's going crazy. Not everyone. A lot of them have to have a phone, and the adults are with the phone. It's not because they need more information. We had enough information. I don't know how much information do you need. I admit it would have been helpful when you were stuck on the highway someplace. That's not a good thing. Aside from that, I don't remember growing up that we had a problem with the phone that had a wire on it. Except it got tangled. I don't remember any problems like that. I remember feeling much more at peace in the home. And I'll tell you even better. When we were in the bungalow colony, there was no phone at all. There was only by the tree in the middle of the bungalow colony, one phone. And someone say, Weinberger. When they passed by and they heard it ringing and somebody was calling. Those nights in the bungalow colony, just sitting there. So what is it with the phone? Because you think you're going to find freedom over here, because you could shop anywhere, you could talk to anyone, and then if you have some kind of an agenda, you could get out your post or you can get out your video clip. It's like you are powerful. This gives you a certain amount. It gives every zlub like this thing that he's got power. Nobody was ever interested in your jokes, and now you can say I have 423 likes. What? Yeah, I have a shtick that I put onto the thing. They're all listening to 40. That's an unbelievable power that you have. Because in your family, the second you open your mouth, everybody falls asleep. Or they run out of the room. And all of a sudden, you say, I have a whole chassidus. Look at all these people. And they're all interested in what I have to say. Mostly not. But and you send all your chats and your things, and it gives a person this feeling of unbelievable chofesh. Chofesh. And then you see when you press the button, it's trying to find something. It says searching. It's searching. It says on it searching, and you're searching for something, and it takes you to places that you couldn't normally go, and to people that you can't normally, and that's the chayus you had. You just now the last 4 hours with that light on your face, which is the biggest darkness in the world. I'm not even saying this from a place of frumkeit, just talking about regular, normal human behavior, what it does. And to be disciplined when it comes to the use of that, and to be able to have people tell you, hey, what's up with you? You didn't answer your phone. Says, no, I didn't answer it. So, you could cross me off your chat. Delete me. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm going to spend some time with my kids. Not with a thing in my pocket. Not while the kid's talking to me. I take out the thing and say, I can't talk right now. I'm doing olive base with Shleiming. I can't talk to you right now. I'll get back to you later. Not that. It's in a different room. It's not to be seen or to be heard. Gone. For a short time, I was doing because a lot of people tell me you got to do email, and I was doing email for a short time. I was on the email. I felt it was for like a year. It was a churban of my life. A churban of my life. I know I have the 10,000 emails. I have not looked at it, Baruch Hashem, for over a year now. I'm done with it. Because I saw that this is already another shibud. It's bad enough. There's another shibud. This one types me that and sends me this, and from this place and from that place. I know there are a lot of good things that are amongst all of that. I don't care. And people have times. I know there are times. I don't care. Because I don't believe that that's what Hashem wants me to do in my life. And I don't believe that's why I was sent here. And if a couple of important things get lost in the middle, I have found those people that need to get through, they'll call my wife. Whatever it is, it works out. But the rest of the stuff, that's what we're here for a couple of years. And you know, and when you get, as you start getting older, you start thinking that it's not so posh. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. To sit with a thing in my hand and going back and forth and trying to type, which I don't know how to do, and trying to type to somebody something. I'm not doing it. So that's how it is. And then it's the biggest chofesh. Biggest chofesh. When I have to make a call and I see that little thing that says email, it doesn't bother me anymore. I mean, bye-bye. Done. No more. But Rabbi Weinberger, it's 2024. Emailing is very important. So then you don't like me. So then don't daven in my Neish Kodesh. Don't talk to me. I know whatever you want to do. You want to make a campaign against me or something? Do whatever you like. I don't care. I'd much rather learn, or talk to my kids or my grandchildren, my wife, or take a nap. Whatever it is, then be stuck on this thing. That's all. And then you have chofesh. Chofesh. You don't have to go running to the Swiss Alps to have a vacation. You have in your own place, which is the nicest place in the world, your own place, your own chair, your own bed, your own living room, amachaya. We became prisoners in our own homes. It's the craziest thing. To be a prisoner in your own house. Your house is supposed to give you a feeling of chofesh, of chayus, of Pesach. And people are running away from their homes for Pesach. You understand? Your home is supposed to be the place of the greatest freedom in the world. But you associate, now the home is associated with all these shibudim, of all these things. All the stuff that you have to do, and the people that are waiting in this net and have to answer, and all kinds of shibudim. You have to not care about it. And it's not so posh because people are going to have tinnitus, but that doesn't make a difference. Of course, each person in their own life, they have to make sure I'm not saying about your mother having a tiny, you have to take care of you have to do all the things you have to do. Make sure you call your mother and everything. But to be free. Otherwise you're a slave of chumriyas and chitzanias. Of chumriyas and chitzanias. You know how many people are slaves to the news? I have people there's in this room there too, who themselves have told me that they used to listen a lot to the news, because they were doing, especially this past year with the Muhammad, and the news, and then I had the election, the news, and they finally decided, I'm done. I'm not doing it. I just can't do it. I'm not going to do it anymore. That's it. If there's something important, if I have to go to the miklat, somebody will tell me. If there's something I need to know, I'll get the information. But I'm not gonna live like this. Being meshubit, and especially if you're meshubit to hear what every single guy has to say. What do they think about the Jews? You want to hear, does this one have does this senator, this governor, or this mayor, does he have a good vart? Is he with us or is he against us? Well, this is where you spend your life. So you're going to come at 120, you're going to say, I found out that there were, altogether in my life, I discovered 423 people who were not anti-Semites. That's what you spent your life doing? Yeah, I kept on watching different things, and I found that there were certain senators and certain other people, politicians, that they were not anti-Semites. They were behind us. And they said, free the hostages. And that Israel has the right to defend herself. They all start like that, right? I found that. So that's what you did in your life. Yes, I was trying to find people who like Jews. That's a very, very chashuv life you had. But this is what people are doing. Say, what do I care if he likes me, he doesn't like me? It's enough minute. I have to watch out for him. I should move to another state. Till you completely lose whatever chofesh you have, whatever freedom you truly have, whatever real freedom that you have, which is only coming from the Or HaNeshama, the Or HaNeshama. So Hashem Yisrael had to take Noach away from this world and to toivel the whole world in a big mikveh. In order for the teva, which means the letters of the Aleph Beis and the davening of learning the tevas, to be higher than the waters of this world, the Mayim Rabim, they say to teach a person forever and ever that this world is a flood, it's a tsunami, and only if you float higher than it are you able to survive. Period. Not just to survive, to live. To live. Otherwise you drown in the world. You're drowning in the flood. The flood now, the flood of information, the flood of this stuff, is much deeper than what was by Noah. The flood now is much worse than the one by Noah. Because you look at yourself and you're on dry land. This is not dry land. The flood is much, much deeper than by Noah. Because you feels like you're on dry land, drowning. But Hashem gave us a way to enter into the teva, to go into the ark, and the teva are the tevas of Aleph Beis, of davening, of learning, of mitzvahs, of pnimius, of the neshama. Then vatelech hateva al pnei hamayim. Al pnei hamayim. Then you don't drown. Every other way, you sink. And you think that the scariest thing is, at least when if you're in the pool and you're drowning, you try to swim, you try to do what you can to tread water to get up. In this world, you're drowning and you're not breathing. And you think that you're breathing and that you're swimming and that you're free and you drown. Hashem Yisrael should save us from the Mayim Rabim of this world and to connect to the Me'adas of His Torah and His mitzvahs. Amen. Shabbos, a good Chodesh.